Clarence Henderson is a civil rights leader. He's the president of the Frederick Douglass Foundation in the state of North Carolina. He was also involved in sit-ins, famous sit-ins at Woolworth's lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1960, one of the many peaceful resistances that led to the reforms of the 1960s, ultimately the Civil Rights Act, and so much of the progress that we have seen today. Mr. Henderson, welcome to Washington Watch.
I am delighted to be here. How are you doing today?
I am well, and it is an honor to speak with you, and we are really grateful for your time today, and it's an important moment. And we are now, and I actually am just hearing in my ears, and I don't know if you've heard this yet, and so I'll tell you, the Derek Chauvin jury has found him guilty on all 3 charges. I don't know if you knew this news. Do you know this? What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is this. We are a nation of laws, and each person has a right to go before the court for whatever judgment it's going to be. And that's the only thing that we can hope for is justice according to the law. Whether or not I agree with it or not is a totally different thing because we have to look at, when I looked at the George Floyd thing, it did not happen in a vacuum. There were things that preceded that. There was contributory situations on his side, George Floyd's side, as well as what happened to the police officer. But again, the only thing that we can hope for is that there is a trial by jury, and we have to stop going having trials in the public square.
Well, I would agree with that for sure. We do want the justice system to be able to work its course rather than have mob justice, which isn't good for anyone. Though it is swifter, it is not always more accurate. And when the justice system is allowed to work, that benefits all of us because in the event that any of us are in front of a jury, we want that jury to consider us and what we have done, not what someone else has done, and not other contexts. Now, in light of this verdict, found guilty on all 3 charges, there's been concern all week about what the response to the verdict is going to be. What do you expect now?
What I expect now is the unexpected. Will the people that are out in the streets be satisfied with the verdict? Or will they just continue to go against the laws of this country? You see, I participated in a peaceful movement on more than one occasion, actually. And the whole, what makes that work is nonviolence. We had a right to peaceably assemble. But when it turns to violence, order has to be put in place. And what has happened in this country is that since last year sometime, we've had this what I call anarchy against the people, the common citizens of America, whereby there's a form of intimidation by going out and starting out calling a riot, and then the next thing you know, it turns into something else totally different. So I'm in hopes that America will come to its senses and realize that as a nation of laws, we have to self-discipline ourselves and live according to the law.
Now, I'm going to assume you have heard the comments from Representative Maxine Waters, which got some attention. I'm going to go ahead and play these remarks in the event that you haven't heard them, and then I want to give you a chance to respond and see what you think.
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
Given your history, what do you think of the idea that of Representative Waters saying we need to get more active, we need to get more confrontational? Is that helpful?
It is a shame and a disgrace that this lady sits in the halls of Congress and espouses what she just espoused. And she has a history of it. This is not by accident. She is inciting violence. And I would expect that she would be one that was saying that we need to have peace no matter what. because she has been elected to represent the people. And most people in the United States want peace. They want justice to be done, but they also want to be able to live in a country where we can sit down, discuss things, and look at what happens in our courtroom and be able to deal with those situations, not by violence, but making sure that the laws are just.
I think most Americans would agree with what you've just expressed. There is this balancing act because we know that things are not perfect and our justice system is imperfect. But if we take matters into our own hands, it becomes worse than if we have a justice system, though imperfect, that is allowed to work. But if you would reflect for a moment, because you were involved in the civil rights movement in the 1960s, you're an observer and you're involved in what's happening today as well. How would you compare the climate of the 1960s on the race issues to what America is dealing with today?
These are not peaceful protests, as some believe, because when we did peaceful protests, the whole idea was that we would be peaceful no matter what, that we would not adhere to violence no matter what. And when I see quote unquote peaceful protesters out there getting right in the face of police officers who are there actually to protect them, and the police officer is simply standing there and get right in their face, shake their finger in his face, and expect that they are not inciting things, trying to provoke things themselves. And so the idea is not to provoke, but we have what are known as constitutional laws, and we must live by those laws if we're going to continue to remain and live in a free society.
Do you expect there to be violence in Minneapolis or in other cities tonight as a result of this verdict?
Well, it seems to me that there are those that are in this country that have decided that they're going to mold this country the way that they want it. And they said by any means necessary, and it means including violence. They are trying to tear down the system that we have in America right now, the justice system. And what they're trying to do is to provoke, to intimidate, to do whatever is necessary. You see, here's what I understand, which is most important. My rights end where yours begin. And until we understand that, we are in a very dangerous and precarious situation in this country right now, because the safety of our citizens out here, just the everyday citizens, is at stake right now, where you've seen with these riots before, people have lost businesses, people have lost lives, and the very idea that you would go out, come out and say that because someone got killed and you're causing more people to die than actually this one person or 5 people or whatever the number is to have gotten killed.
Yeah. Do you believe that the demonstrations we've seen even this week leading up to this verdict are spontaneous, or are they orchestrated in some way?
They are orchestrated. They are those that are sitting, waiting to have a reason to come out and start violence and mayhem. If you look at what's happening, you will have people out there for all various reasons, but you've got some people that are out here that are leading these things. And if these would be peaceful protests, what does looting and going into people's places of businesses and stealing various items out of these stores and burning places down, what does that have to do with peaceful protests? These are not peaceful protests, and people need to understand the difference between the two.
I think that's a fair point, but I'm going to go ahead and take that one step further and see if I can get you to even answer your own question there. Who is it that benefits from these disruptions in our cities?
Well, most recently, we got 2 organizations specifically that have reaped benefits of it, and that's Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And they are Marxist organizations. I'm a person that I call it like I see it. And what is happening with these organizations, they are profiteering. If there was not a profit in these riots, what they're doing right now, you wouldn't hear so much about it. You wouldn't see so much of it. And you look at it that they're trying to leverage things in their favor, not only from a point of view of taking over, but from a point of view of monetary value.
What is your advice at this point, given the tensions, given the moment that we're in? What do you advise the average American to do to help move the country past the conflict to a place where we're getting along with people?
We have to go back to the reason that this country was founded, which means that we need to know the history of this country, which means we need to understand that violence begets violence. We need to understand that there is an order of things in this country. We have 3 branches of government to make sure it balances itself out. It's something like what you said before. There's a balance to all of this. And if we don't live according to that, I would rather be right in the minority than wrong in the majority. And so what we have to look at is we have to go back to what this country was founded to be, even though it's an imperfect country, and live according to that, because we have people coming here because they're looking for the opportunity in America. They're not coming here because they're trying to get away from the very thing that we are causing to happen in this country right now, the violence, the mayhem, and cancel culture, and attacking people's character. That's what people are coming here trying to get away from. And we in this country don't seem to recognize that we live in the greatest country in the world.
Clarence Henderson, thank you so much for your time. You are a real American hero. We greatly appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.
I appreciate it too, and you have a blessed day.